So for the start of today's lecture, we're going to be talking about loaded language. Loaded language is used to help persuasive speakers and writers make sure that the audience sees things from their points of views. So we're going to use language that's going to try to convince the audience to see things and agree with our opinion. And that really is going to come down to word choice. For every word that we choose to speak, that we choose to write, it needs to be chosen wisely. Words can help us feel positive or negative about a specific ideal, and that words that create this emotional response in us are known as loaded language. So loaded language has the potential to generate strong emotions, and those could be positive or negative. There's two types generally spoken about. We've got snarl words, which is negative, and we've got glittering generalities, sometimes known as purr words, that create a positive feeling. So words like germs or caution might cause a negative reaction from most people, especially given the current context. So that would be considered a snarl word, and those are derogatory labels that can be attached to something in order to diminish its importance or worth. So great examples of this might be conspiracy theory. We just talked about how conspiracies are a real thing, but the minute you put that second word to it and say, oh, that's a conspiracy theory, you are dismissing that issue's importance or worth. So examples of that are like communist, radical feminist, gun nut, snowflake. Snowflake, I found, is pretty much anybody under the age of 30. If you haven't heard that yet, I'm kind of surprised. I went straight to Rationalpedia, and they had a page on snarl words, and I just took a picture of it and put it up here. Some of these you'll definitely understand. Things like jihadish as a snarl word, right? Right-winger could be considered a snarl word. If you are in the central or on the left wing, not all groups are going to see snarl words the same way. Conspiracy theory is on there. Corporate, not a snarl word for a lot of people, but it's listed here. You've got moonbat, which I have no idea what that means. You've got Satanist, which seems a little bit more clear. You got sheeple, as in people who are sheep, who just follow the herd. You've got communists. Definitely that is a snarl word that gets thrown around a lot. Social justice warriors, socialist, teabagger. Again, no idea what that means. Gun grabber at the top, gun nut. So all of these words are meant to create a very negative feeling in anybody who reads it. On the other side, we've got our glittering generalities. And these are meant to increase something's worth. Whenever I talk about this in class, I always say, think about food. At what point when we look at food, do we see these glittering generalities? What about fresh fruit? I mean, of course it's fresh. Even if it's not fresh, they're still going to say fresh. They're not going to say old fruit. They're not going to say a week-old fruit. They're not going to say fruit of an undeterminate time. They say fresh fruit, and it's supposed to make us feel better about it, right? With food, it's so easy. A hot, piping, organic, non-GMO, gluten-free. All of these things are great examples of glittering generalities. Children, anytime you attach the word children, it seems to be a glittering generality. Oh, we must do it for the children, right? We've got state of the art when we're talking about technology. So this again came from Rationalpedia, and there's a bunch of descriptors on here, and some of these really aren't even that clear of what they mean. Religious freedom, so the freedom to worship as we want. But we'll definitely see religious freedom. A lot of people think that their religious freedom is being attacked when LGBT people had the right to get married. You've got true or truth. But really, what is that? We've got facts. Now that's a thing, but truth? And wasn't it really Rudy Giuliani who said that we're in a post-truth era? You've got family values or free speech. Does the United States have absolute free speech? Can we say whatever we want at any time? We can't. We have rules and regulations around free speech. Human rights, populist, patriot, or patriotic. Again, what does that mean? Just because I'm in the Navy, does that make me patriotic? If I had a flag on a hat, does that make me patriotic? What exactly does that mean? So speechwriters are going to use loaded words, this emotional language, to help sway opinions. But the words also reflect the bias of the speaker. If you're ever reading or watching and you're just not sure which side or which bias is being expressed, start looking for that loaded language that's meant to create an emotional response. And it may be that they're using words for their connotation and not denotation. So what do I mean by that? Well, the connotation is the suggested meaning of a word, and it's usually based on emotion. We've got positive or negative, we've got or neutral, right? But then there's the denotation. This is the actual dictionary meaning of the word. So a great example of this is, well, excuse. The denotation is very clear. It's an explanation. Why were you late today? I had to take my wife to the hospital to give birth. That is an explanation as to why I was late. But when they come back and said, well, that's just an excuse, what they're really saying is that's a weak reason. Well, why were you late for school today? Well, the traffic was really bad. That's not much of an excuse right now, is it? The traffic was really bad. There was an accident. Well, that's just an excuse. You should have left earlier. So that connotation kind of takes over. Another example, you've got new. New as in or recent. New is not always better. A new baby. Well, new puppies are always wonderful. But a new car might not even be a newer model car. Just might be new to you. So it's a recent origin. But the connotation is that it's better than what you had. Oh, I got a new stereo. I got news. Even that word itself has a kind of a positive connotation to it. So for the next couple images, I've got 16 images. And for the folks in class, I'm going to put you in groups of 3 or 4. I'm going to put you in breakout rooms. You're going to get assigned a picture. So you might want to take some photos as we're going through here so everybody has these photos. And you're going to have to write me 3 sentences, at least 3 sentences. One of them is going to be to describe what you're seeing using glittering generalities. One is going to describe what you're saying using snarl words, and one is to describe what you see using denotation, using those neutral terms, or as neutral as you can get them. So, group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So at this point in time, I'm going to want you to choose one of those pictures, and you're going to go ahead and you're going to just write 3 sentences, one being a glittering generality, one being a snarl word, and one being in neutral terms. And you're going to upload these descriptions to the Canvas assignment. Try to be as flattering as possible or as mean as possible. And then in the bottom, make it neutral terms. But even when you're using those glittering generalities, I still want you to be honest, truthful with what the picture represents. If you have any questions, hit me up with an email. Otherwise, we talked about loaded language, we talked about snarl words, we talked about glittering generalities, and we talked about connotations and denotations. See you in class.